Why doing less attracts more sounds counterintuitive, especially in a world that praises constant hustle, endless effort, and visible struggle. From a young age, we're taught that more action equals more results. Work harder, try faster, push further, and if something isn't working, the solution must be to do more. But quietly, almost invisibly, many people reach a point where the harder they push, the further things seem to slip away. Opportunities stall, motivation fades, life feels heavy instead of expansive. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. Effort without alignment repels what you want. Doing less doesn't mean being lazy or passive, it means removing force. And force is often the very thing blocking what you're trying to attract. Think about a time you tried too hard to make something happen: a relationship, a job, approval, success. The energy wasn't calm, it was tight, anxious, heavy. You were attached to the outcome, you needed it to work. And people can feel that need, even if you never say a word. Life can feel it too. Desperation has a frequency, and that frequency pushes things away. Now compare that to moments when things flowed effortlessly, when you weren't chasing, when you weren't proving anything, when you showed up relaxed, grounded, and unattached. Those moments tend to invite opportunities you didn't plan for. Conversations open doors, ideas land naturally, people respond without resistance. That's not coincidence, that's alignment. Doing less creates space, and space is magnetic. Look at nature. Nothing valuable in nature grows through force. A tree doesn't strain to grow taller. A river doesn't rush, yet it shapes entire landscapes. The sun doesn't compete, chase, or convince. It simply exists, and everything orbits around it. Nature attracts by being, not by forcing. Humans are the only ones who believe tension equals progress. Here's a simple example that hits close to home. Have you ever tried to fall asleep by forcing it? The harder you try, the more awake you become. Sleep only arrives when effort stops. The same principle applies to creativity, love, clarity, and even success. They show up when the nervous system feels safe, not pressured. Doing less is about releasing unnecessary effort, the mental noise, the over-planning, the constant self-correction. It's about trusting that not every moment requires action. Sometimes stillness is the most productive move you can make. This is especially important today, where productivity is confused with worth. Many people are exhausted not because they're doing meaningful work, but because they're doing too much that doesn't align with who they are. When action comes from fear, fear of falling behind, fear of missing out, fear of not being enough, it drains you. When action comes from clarity, it energizes you. If this idea already challenges the way you see effort and success, take a moment to support the channel. Subscribe and leave a like. It helps this kind of content reach people who are tired of pushing and ready to understand a different way of living. Doing less doesn't mean giving up. It means subtracting what's unnecessary so what truly matters can finally move toward you. In the next part, we'll explore why attachment blocks results and how letting go creates momentum without force. One of the biggest reasons doing less attracts more is because attachment quietly suffocates results. Most people don't realize this because attachment disguises itself as ambition, responsibility, or passion. But beneath it, attachment is control, and control creates resistance. When you're deeply attached to an outcome, your attention narrows. You stop seeing alternatives. You stop listening. You stop adapting. Everything becomes about making something happen instead of allowing it to unfold. This is where effort turns heavy. You're no longer moving with life, you're pushing against it. Think about how people behave when they're attached to being liked. They over-explain, they overgive, they over-adjust their personality. And ironically, the more they try to be accepted, the less natural and attractive they become. The same dynamic applies to success, money, and opportunities. Neediness repels. Calm confidence attracts. There's a subtle shift that happens when you do less. You stop gripping outcomes so tightly. And when that grip loosens, life responds differently. Conversations feel lighter. Decisions feel clearer. You stop chasing validation and start choosing alignment. People sense that. Opportunities sense that. A powerful example is creative work. Writers, artists, and thinkers often experience their best ideas not when they're forcing productivity, but when they step away, in the shower, on a walk, during moments of rest. Why? Because creativity doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to openness. When the mind relaxes, it connects dots effortlessly. The same is true for problem solving. Ever noticed how answers often arrive after you stop obsessing over a problem? You wrestle with it all day, get nowhere, then suddenly the solution appears while you're doing something unrelated. That's not accidental. That's the mind exiting fight mode and entering flow. Doing less also means trusting timing. Many people sabotage good things by rushing them. They demand clarity before it's ready. They force decisions before enough information has surfaced. They push relationships to define themselves too early. In contrast, when you allow space, things reveal themselves naturally. What's aligned stays. What's not falls away without drama. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means you stop overacting. You act when action feels clean, not frantic. You rest when rest is needed, without guilt. You pause without assuming you're falling behind. And paradoxically, this rhythm makes your actions more effective. There's a reason confident people speak less, a reason grounded leaders don't rush, a reason presence feels powerful. Stillness carries authority. When you're not trying to convince, impress, or prove, your energy stabilizes, and stability is attractive. If you're starting to see how releasing pressure could change the way you live, this is a good moment to pause and support the channel. Leave a like and subscribe if this resonates. It helps keep conversations like this alive in a world that glorifies exhaustion. Doing less trains you to listen, not just to life, but to yourself. You begin to notice when effort is coming from fear instead of purpose. You catch yourself before saying yes out of obligation. You start valuing quality over quantity. And as that happens, your life becomes quieter, but richer. In the final part, we'll talk about how to apply this principle practically without withdrawing from life, ambition, or growth, and how less becomes the gateway to receiving more. Doing less becomes truly powerful when it turns into a way of living, not just an idea you agree with intellectually. This is where most people struggle. They understand the concept, but they're afraid that if they slow down, everything will collapse. That fear comes from a lifetime of conditioning that says, if I stop pushing, I'll lose momentum. In reality, momentum that requires constant force was never stable to begin with. Applying this principle doesn't mean disappearing from your responsibilities or abandoning your goals. It means changing how you move toward them. Instead of filling every moment with effort, you start asking better questions. Is this necessary? Is this aligned? Am I acting from clarity or from anxiety? These questions alone remove a surprising amount of unnecessary action. One of the most practical shifts is learning to pause before responding, before saying yes, before reacting emotionally, before committing your time and energy. That pause is doing less, and it immediately improves the quality of your decisions. Many people's lives are overcrowded not with obligations, but with unexamined yeses. When you slow down, your boundaries strengthen naturally, not through confrontation, but through awareness. Another key application is allowing space between effort and reward. Our culture teaches instant feedback. Work now, see results now. But life doesn't operate on that timeline. Seeds don't grow faster because you check on them constantly. When you learn to act, then step back, you signal trust in yourself and in the process. That trust removes desperation, and desperation is what blocks flow. You'll also notice that when you do less, you start receiving more support. People step in, opportunities appear, ideas come from unexpected places, not because you manipulated outcomes, but because you stopped occupying all the space with effort. You made room, and what's meant for you doesn't need to be chased, it responds to openness. There's an emotional maturity that develops here. You stop measuring your value by how busy you are. You stop equating rest with laziness. You allow yourself to be effective instead of exhausted. And in that state, your presence becomes more impactful than constant action ever was. This is the moment to remember. Attraction isn't about pulling harder, it's about becoming coherent. When your actions, values, and energy align, life meets you halfway. Not dramatically, not loudly, but consistently. If this video helped you rethink effort, success, or control, take a moment to subscribe and leave a like. It supports this channel and helps others who feel stuck in constant striving discover a different path. So the next time you feel the urge to do more out of fear, try doing less with intention. Breathe, pause, observe, choose what truly matters, and release the rest. You'll find that when force disappears, flow begins. Because doing less doesn't make you fall behind. It allows what's meant for you to finally catch up.